Hi, I'm Sandra Hawkins and I want to show you a more advanced if-else statement in Java. So what I'm looking at is the result that somebody would get in an exam, say for the Leaving Cert, and the corresponding grade that they would get. So these are for higher level subjects at the minute. So to store the result, I'm going to put that into a variable, int result equals, and just pop any value at all in there, 90. And the grade that they get, so 90 in this case would be in the 90 to 100 range, so that would be a H1. So I'm going to store the grade in a string, grade, and I'm going to print that out then at the end. And I'm going to assign that an empty string. So with a local variable that been declared inside a block, so in this case the curly brackets of main, I can't use a variable unless it's been assigned to first of all. So local variables must be assigned to before they can be used. That is the rule. So what I'm going to do, firstly I'm going to check for any invalid entries. So say for example by accident this was 190. So I can't give a grade for that. So I'm going to put in if result is less than 0, that would be invalid, or, that's 2 bars, or result is greater than 90. Sorry, greater than 100. So that would be an invalid result. And in that case, I'm going to print out. Firstly, result, concatenate onto that, is an invalid value. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. If you haven't seen that OR operator before, the OR needs to find that one side is true for that condition to be true. So if, say, result was -5, is -5 under 0? Yes. Well then that's an invalid value. So with that OR, it won't check the right hand side because it found a true on the left and it knows that it's going to be true anyway. So that's our first part. Now what I'm going to go on, so if the result is valid, so say that condition there, if that's not true, so it's not out of range, it means it is within the range of between 0 and 100. So what I'm putting in here is else if the result is over 90. So if it's not under 0 and it's not over 100, it's obviously between 0 and 100. So first I'm checking to see, is it over the 90 range? So is it that would give back a true if it was 90 and over. I need to put in an equals here, greater than or equals to 90, so that would include 90 as well. So if the result is 90 or over, and that would bring us up to 100 there as well. And if it is, what I'm going to do is put in here grade will be a H1. Now I'm going to go along and put in else if the result is over 80, the grade would be a H2, else if the result is over 70, the grade would be a H3, and so on. And I'm going to paste that in to save a little bit of time. So here we have, firstly, our check for an invalid value. So this line here checks for an invalid range. So if it's under 0 or over 100, it's invalid. Otherwise, we're checking to see is it over 90. So that will be between 90 and 100. Oops. 90 and 100. If it's not over 90, then execution will go on to the next else, and it'll check to see if the result is over 80. If that's not true, it'll go on to the next else and see if the result is over 70, and so on. So say, for example, I have my result at 50. Is it under 0 or over 100? No. Is it over 90? No. Is it over 80? No. Over 70? No. Over 60? No. Is it 50 or over? Yes. So that one would be true. It would assign H5 to grade, and then it would not check the other ifs that are underneath. Now, so I just want to finish this off and do my printout. So I've only checked up here to a H7. If the result is over 30, it's a H7. Otherwise, it obviously hasn't passed any of the other conditions. So it hasn't passed any of the other conditions. It's not invalid. It's not over 90, 80, and so on. It's not over 30. It must be between 30 and 0. And that will give a H8 there. So the grade will be assigned a H8. Now, the last thing I want to do, and this is over, and I'm going to make that's finished. I'm going to make a change to this now in a second as well. So I want to put in here your result of, and concatenate on their result. Your result of, say, 50. Concatenate onto that. Gives a grade of, and concatenate on grade. Now, look at another tutorial that I will do there on printf as an alternative to all this plussing and concatenating going on here. So I'll do that in a separate demo. Now, just to test this out, so I'm going to run it. Your result of 50 gives a grade of H5. So it's 50, so that will be true. Grade is a H5. So just to test it out then, if I put in 120 and run that, 20 is an invalid value. Your result of 20 gives a grade of, so I don't want that printed out. So I'm going to make a change so that does not appear. Just a couple more tests here. Say we have a negative number. -5 is an invalid value. Again, I don't want that to appear. And let's put in 29. Your result of 29 gives a grade of H8. Okay, so that's working fine. Now, when I have an invalid value, so I'll go back here to 120. When I have an out of range, I don't want that message to appear. So when I'm out of range, my little test there, the grade won't have been assigned. So when this condition is true, there's a printout up here, it won't have gone into any of the other tests underneath and grade won't have been given a value. So I'm going to put a little check around this. I'm going to say if grade, now I'd like to say equals empty. And what I really want to say is if the grade is not empty. That's what I'm trying to say, but that's not a good way to say it at the minute. If the grade is empty, then display the result and grade. Okay, so equals and not equals to are not great for comparing strings because they actually compare memory addresses. So if you are comparing a string to another value, you need to use dot equals. The equals is not guaranteed to work. So if the grade equals empty, what I want to say, I've deleted a round bracket there, if the grade is not empty. So I'm putting an operator there, not at the beginning. So that reads, if not grade dot equals empty. So if the grade is not empty, then display the result and the grade. So one last test on that. 120 is an invalid value. And now just tab that in, it looks better. We don't get the grade printed out if it's an invalid value. One final test there, I'll pop in 66. Your result of 66 gives a grade of H4. Okay, so that is an example of an advanced if-else statement. Just some rules here. You can put in curly brackets, but I only have one statement on each part, so the curly brackets probably get a little bit more confusing, but you can put them in. I don't. If I know I definitely only have one statement, I don't bother with the curly brackets. It makes it look neater. You can have only one else hanging on the end. It must be on the end, and it's a good thing to have in case any of the other conditions are not true. And finally, when one of these conditions is true, so our result is 66, that condition there will be true. It will execute line 31, and it will not check any of the other conditions underneath. So when a match is found in that if condition in all that nested if else's, when one match is found, it won't check any of the others underneath. And that is your advanced if else statement.